welcome back to another episode of Offended. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Brendan.
And this week's episode is going to be about whitewashing with characters. So the other day I read an article by Business Insider. It's probably been about a week now since it came out. And basically it was that Iron Fist or Danny Rand should have been casted as an Asian, not as a white person, but the story clearly dictates that Danny has always been white, so it makes really no sense why we have to change to modernize. But from there, like, clearly there are some points in the story alone which clearly infer that if he was a different nationality that it wouldn't have worked. So honestly, it just seems like a lot of people want the writers to alter their personalities or alter their ethnicities, or alter their religion so that it fits an SJW agenda.
Which in my opinion, I just think it'd be easier for them to make the characters that ethnicity or that background or that sex from the get-go, instead of changing the character, having to go rewrite things and change the character as a whole, where you can just make a new character, make a new superhero, or even just make a variation of them as a whole different character in a different comic book.
I mean, that's why, to be honest, Marvel and DC both should be working on legacies instead of just working on the same characters and reiterating them over and over again. Because if you start a legacy, you can modernize it instead of continually having the same regurgitated thing, even though a lot of us still appreciate it, but nonetheless, it is regurgitated. It's kind of like this crowd is going, you know, this character we've had no interest in since its inception, but now that it's become popular, let's claim it for ourselves. And basically anybody who's loved this character since the beginning, they should fuck off, right? They should just fuck off. They have no reason for like worshiping or enjoying this icon that they've been worshiping or enjoying for 40 years plus.
I mean, just pandering to a narrative has never gotten anyone anywhere. Just saying. For all those people that think that cultural appropriation is a thing, you're an idiot. And here's why you're an idiot. If you think that people aren't allowed to be influenced by other cultures, especially white people, that's just inconceivable that you believe that, because by that logic, you're saying that no one's allowed to be influenced by culture ever, including black people, including Asian people, including white people, including Hispanic people. And honestly, I like cultural appropriation because it means that we all get to enjoy each other's culture.
I mean, you wouldn't have Wu-Tang Clan if cultural appropriation didn't happen. Wouldn't have Afro Samurai. RZA would basically be broke. Like, literally broke. But fuck cultural appropriation, right?
And also by that logic, it's very tribalistic in the sense that you're saying us against them, that you're saying that you're only allowed to like your culture and they're only allowed to like their culture, and that we're not allowed to be influenced by each other, and it's not allowed to bleed over. It has to be completely separate, and we only can be influenced by our own culture. That's fucking retarded.
To be honest, I find it kind of sad. I find it sad that people have this mentality that we can't be intrigued by other cultures. I mean, for one, other cultures are often more interesting, more exciting. They're new, they're fresh. They bring depth.
We get bored of our own culture. I mean, yeah, sure, there's fascinating things about our cultures, but it's the mystery and certain things that intrigue us about other cultures, about trying to understand them. There's like things like legends and
and myths.
Myths and and like music and different things that are great about other cultures.
I mean, for one of the greatest things that happened in America, and I'm not standing up for America by any rights, but one of the nice things that has happened in America over the last 50 years since the rise of media is the melting pot. We've had this melting pot culture where everyone's come together and basically shares their culture together. And it's great. You know why it's great? Because we don't tribalize ourselves as different segregated parts of society. We're not black, we're not white, we're not Asian, we're not Indian, we're not Hispanic. We're everything. We are human. That is our culture.
When it comes to whitewashing or cultural appropriation, whatever you want to call it, I guess, but unless we're doing blackface or black people are doing whiteface, or we conquer another culture, or another culture conquers some other culture, and they exploit that culture after ravaging those people, basically, then that's bad. That's bad, but nobody's doing blackface except like a very small fringe group of people that do blackface, and they're idiots.
And we don't associate with them.
But like, nobody's appropriating culture the way that you guys believe in cultural appropriation. That you accuse, at least that you accuse of appropriating culture. So, sincerely, fuck off.
Now, it's the opposition of this claim. There was also journalistic integrity dealing with the fact of Doctor Strange, where they did say that, oh, they whitewashed the Ancient One. And I don't like the terminology. I think it's kind of a stupid term. But nonetheless, I do kind of agree, because the Ancient One has always been an Asian male. And for them to just go, hey, let's throw Tilda Swinton in and not bat an eyelash. No one, like, the funny thing is, there was like a handful of articles about Tilda Swinton doing it, but Iron Fist, it's been fucking blown up. Blown out of fucking proportion.
If the role had been taken by an Asian person, USGWs would be crying about stereotyping all the same. So really, it's just a double-edged sword with you guys. Either way, we can't win. It's like with female characters in movies or video games, where if they're too busty, their butts are too big, then they don't represent all women and they're Mary Sues. And if they're too tomboyish, then it underplays them being a strong female role. Either way, you can't fucking win. It's like I honestly have a better chance of playing Russian roulette.
Racism that refuses to go away. Characters like Iron Fist and his early forebear Shang-Chi capitalized on the kung fu craze of the era. Back then, the characteristics of martial arts films were arguably empowering for marginalized audiences, featuring a long-suffering, non-white protagonist on a righteous quest against a foe that was amoral.
Well, Eli, it's come to this. You go first.
That bitch, I'll go first. I ain't no pussy.
I mean, the double-edged sword is played heavily with the new Star Wars movie. And I know it's a little off topic, but I mean, we're talking about Hollywood and the complaints that Hollywood journalists have against movies and cinema. So let's just get into it. The fact that people want to complain that Rey is a Mary Sue, let me break this down for you. In no way is Rey perfect. Maybe she has a little bit more aptitude with the Force than some other users. It doesn't really matter. It's essentially mysticism. And at that point, as a huge Star Wars fan, I've never found a complaint to throw at it. Yet there are a lot of Star Wars fans that do. But with that said, they want to say that Daisy Ridley is a Mary Sue. She's perfect. She's not perfect. I'm sorry. She's very pretty. She has a nice face, but she doesn't have necessarily a perfect body. She doesn't have a perfect face, even to that. To be honest, I think she's a pretty fair assessment for an everyday average woman.
And in my opinion, and this is my opinion, so don't get too upset, I think almost every character at some point in their existence is a Mary Sue. They either are Mary Sues to begin with, or they eventually work up their way to being a Mary Sue by the end of the story. So, really, it's just an invalid argument, because if you're willing to get past the cliche, then you can enjoy the story either way.
I think the real sad thing is about the SJW community complaining about the new Star Wars movie is it was kind of catered to them.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like, if you really think about it, there's a leading female role, there's a leading black role, and there's a leading Hispanic role. What the fuck? That's very diverse. Like, the only white people in that movie are the original cast members. So, what the fuck? Why are you guys fucking complaining? Like, it just seems like you want to whine and complain about just about everything that Hollywood has to do. Fucking quit it. Enjoy it. Just enjoy the movies that they put out. You don't have to complain. And to be honest, this isn't one-sided. It's not just the idea of whitewashing. It's also the common term of white genocide. Where last year, around the time Luke Cage came out, there was a lot of complaints by a very large white community that there weren't enough white people in Luke Cage. And honestly, I want to ask those people, go to fucking Harlem.
Or like downtown Baltimore.
Yeah. Like, why are you complaining?
Chicago.
How often have you been to fucking Harlem? There aren't that many white people. Like, it's just not common. So, from their accuracy, you want to complain? Like, it is a predominantly black and Hispanic neighborhood.
That's like the same argument if you went to, I don't know, like South America or Africa or Asia and you were expecting a movie to have an all-white cast. I mean, it's not completely the same, but it's just to make the point that it's stupid to believe that there would be an all-white cast or a mostly white cast in countries that would be predominantly of a different race. It's just stupid to believe that.
And if they were doing that, if they were going to South America, Africa, or Asia, and predominantly only throwing in a white cast, yes, that's whitewashing. That's racist. But you don't see that too often. So why don't you just shut up until it fucking happens? Or just don't worry about it because it probably won't happen.
And
the whole point to this video really is to establish, enjoy the content that's being put out by professionals. Like, you don't have to complain all the time. Sometimes you just sit down and enjoy it, okay? Like, I get it. Some things you wish to be different. Thus, create it yourself. If you don't have the creative integrity or talent, shut the fuck up, please. Because some of us actually enjoy what is being created for us.
it's fantasy, it's sci-fi, it's meant to be enjoyed, it's meant to make you think. It's not meant to sometimes be taken too literally. It's meant to be a creative idea about something. So get your head out of your ass and take it at face value instead of just diverting it to fit your bias.
So that's another episode of Offended.
Please rate, comment, and subscribe.
Subscribe!